All right, welcome to part 2 of the Element of Art Shape tutorial. We last left off on the parallelogram geometric shape, so we're going to continue and learn the tricks of creating a parallelogram and some additional shapes. So there's some slight changes from before. All right, so for starters, we're going to zoom in, Control plus sign to zoom in. I'm going to use my slider to center my parallelogram. I'm going to choose a new color for my color picker. Okay, let's go with orange. There we go. Click OK. And we also need to create a new layer by clicking the new layer icon. Okay, so in order to create the parallelogram, we're going to select the rectangle shape tool. And you'll notice that my cursor turns into a plus sign. And I'm going to line up my cursor with one corner of the parallelogram. So I click on the corner and I'm going to drag the shape to the opposite corner. And I will let go. So I need to make sure that my fill color is accurate from what I selected. So I will double click on the little icon in the layer itself. And I could just choose something in the color picker, but I want that particular shade of orange from before. So you'll notice that when I move my mouse outside of the color picker, it turns into an eyedropper tool. And I will select the swatch from before, and it turns it into the exact shade of orange that I was looking for. And then I click OK, and I will press Control S to save my documents. All right. So obviously, this is just a rectangle. It's not a parallelogram yet. So in order to turn this into a parallelogram, I'm going to press Control T so that I have my resize box ready. And then all I'm going to do is press the Control key. And I'm holding it down. And you'll notice as I'm holding down the Control key, it turns the cursor into a white arrow. And this white arrow is going to allow me to drag out this corner and mimic the angle of the parallelogram. So I can drag it out, and then I let go, and that's one side complete. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite corner. So I press Control. Watch what happens when I press Control. It turns it into a little white arrow. And then I'm going to drag the bottom corner out to match the angle here. And there we go. We have a beautiful parallelogram. Press Enter to get rid of my resizing box. And then I'm going to rename this layer Parallelogram. Okay. Once again, I will save, Control S. And we're ready to move on to our next shape. So our next shape is a trapezoid. So let's make a brand new layer for the trapezoid. Let's pick a brand new color for the trapezoid. Let's see, maybe we'll go with a nice, let's see, we can go with a nice purple. Okay, and the technique is very similar to the parallelogram. So I'm first going to select my rectangle tool, just make sure it's selected, and I'll line up my cursor, the plus sign, the corner of the plus sign with the corner of the trapezoid. That's really the easiest thing to do first. And you'll notice I'm dragging it to the other corner on the bottom of the trapezoid. And then I'm going to extend my box up because I want it to be aligned with the dotted line on the top. And I let go. All right. So the same exact technique as before, I want to drag out my corners for the shape to capture the angles here, which really are like triangles. So let's press Control T to get the resize box. Hold down that Control key. Notice that the white arrow appears. And drag out one corner on the right, and then we have the left that we have to account for. Hold down the Control key. Drag that resize box out to the opposite side. And there we go. We have a beautiful trapezoid. Press enter. When you're done, rename the layer trapezoid. Okay, let's save it. Control S and move on to our next shape, which is a diamond, a girl's best friend. Okay, so let's make a brand new layer for our diamond. So the truth about this diamond is that it's really just a square, but rotated on its side. Okay, so first let's choose a brand new color for it, like this pink. That's a nice one. And similar to a square, this particular diamond is even on all sides. So just like when we made our square earlier, we're going to press down the shift key because that's going to ensure that our shape is even and equal on all sides. So I'm holding down the shift key this time. It's going to start off as a square, and you'll know that it's even because if you look at the little width and height box that pops open, you could see that the number is exactly the same in the width and the height. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that size, so I'll let go. And then all I have to do, very simply, is press Control T to get my resize box. And now you will notice that when you hover your mouse around the resize box, especially particularly on the corners, you will see that a little two-sided rounded arrow appears on the corners only. See? Only on the corners those arrows will appear. So that actually is a rotation tool. So if you just click outside of the box, it will allow you to rotate your square and turn it into a diamond. So here's the cool part. As I'm rotating my square, I can actually hold the shift key at the same time, and you'll see it actually really straightens out that angle and makes it 45 degrees, which is pretty much what we want. And I'm going to press enter to get rid of my resize box, and then I'll select my move tool, which is at the top of my tool panel because I want it to line up with the dotted lines. And my personal trick is that I will line up the top corner with the top corner of the dotted outline. And even though the shape is looking really good, it's not perfect. It's not filling up my dotted line as well as I'd like it to. So I'm going to press Control T to get my resize box. And then very simply, I'm going to hold the shift key because I want it to stay even as I enlarge this. And I'm going to drag it out on one corner, line it up, and then I can even drag it out on this corner and line it up, and there we go. And I was holding the shift key the whole time. Press enter and rename that layer diamond. There we go. Okay, so the next shape down the line is a pentagon. So we have a 5-sided pentagon right here. Let's make a brand new layer for our pentagon. And this time we're going to switch our shape tool, hold it down so that we can open up our hidden tools, and we're going to select the polygon tool. So I'm also going to change the color of my shape. I think I'll go for a nice yellow. And if we look up top, now that our polygon tool is selected, we have to decide how many sides we want our shape to have, and it happens to be preset already on the number 5. If yours is not, I want you to change it to the number 5, and because that's how many sides we need. And then you're going to click and drag your shape. And the thing to pay attention to is the very bottom line. And you'll notice that if you're rotating your shape, that bottom line tends to look almost like steps or like zigzaggy, and it's not straight. So this is really our gauge, and you shouldn't have any sort of zigzagging lines if it's straight. So just like that, that's perfect. And we let go of the shape. And then I'll use my move tool at the top of the tool panel. And I will line up my shape at the top corner with the top corner of the outline, like so. And now we have to resize it. So Control T. And I could see just from looking at my outline that the bottom of the pentagon is a little higher than what I currently have. So I'm going to press the shift key just because I don't want too much to change about my shape just yet. And I'm going to lift it up so that it's in line with the bottom line. And then I'm just going to stretch and drag out my shape on the right and the left and line it up with my dotted line, and that looks great. I'm happy with it. Let's press enter and rename it Pentagon. Okay, and finally, the last geometric shape down the line, we have a hexagon. So let's make a brand new layer for our hexagon, and let's change the color. This time I'm going to choose a nice green. And we're still going to use the polygon tool. So once again, select your polygon tool. Only this time a hexagon has 6 sides. So we want to change our sides to the number 6. And then let's click and drag our hexagon shape. I'm looking at the bottom line. I want to make sure that it's nice and straight, which I believe it is. Then I'm going to use my move tool. And this time I'm going to line it up with the top and press Control T to resize. And this time I'm going to extend it down to the bottom line. And then I will drag it out on the right-hand side and also on the left-hand side so that all of my lines match up. That looks great. And press enter. And then rename it hexagon, like so. Okay, press save, Control S. And I'm going to zoom out so that I could see how all of my shapes look. I would say that they look quite good, quite impressive. And there we go. Those are our geometric shapes. And we created them by using the vector shape tool. So as you can see, it's a wonderful tool. All of our shapes are nice and crisp and clear, and they're colorful. And even better is that all of our labels are nice and organized, and they're all individually named. So if I come back to work on this project, it's always going to be easy for me to identify all of my shapes and each layer, and I could even continue on and do some more interesting and fun effects with them later on. Okay, so that's the end of the geometric shapes tutorial. Stay tuned for part 3, where we learn how to fill in organic shapes. All right, thank you.